Okay, now that we're in our code, it doesn't take long to figure out what we left out. You probably already caught it anyway. I did screen top. I never found where the screen bottom was. And so it was just any value that happened to be in there at the time. And that's why the real funky way that ball was bouncing around. So here at the top, I've got a screen top that is done, and I'm going to copy and paste that and change this to screen bottom. Okay, so the top right was as far over to the right and as high up as I could go. The bottom left is going to be the opposite. As far to the left I can go, which is a 0 floating point number, and as far down I can go, which will be a 0 and a floating point number. Now I wish I could just use that vector as is, but you can't. Again, this is before we do screen to world point. This value is in pixels. I need to bring it back into units that are usable within Unity, and that's what this does. So now then, screen bottom should have a valid Y and a valid X. And let's see, that was happening in my top and bottom right there. So let's see if that now corrects it by just adding in and giving correct values to screen bottom. So save it again, and let's go back into the game, and in the game let's run this thing again. Oh, got to give it a second. Okay, there it goes, it updates. And now let's see what it does. And finally, okay, and once it misses a paddle, then it's gone. So the ball is behaving as it should. Now then we need to be able to get the paddles to move up and down. And one of the things with it also, we will go ahead and talk about, because we did with the ball, if I just like use over here on this side, I'll use an up arrow for it, and if all I do is use an up arrow, it'll just keep going forever. Well, I need to stop it, not let it go past the top of the screen, and be the same thing, not let it go past the bottom of the screen. Okay, and again, this will be Y values, and that'll be screen top Y and screen bottom Y. So I'll need to keep up with the XY values of the paddle and make sure when that Y gets to a certain point, it just quits going up, and same thing for going down. All right, so we're going to add that in now. So let's see, I'll just go ahead and do it for this paddle, since that's the one I was talking about. That's paddle right. And so on paddle right, collisions and everything are happening correctly. So I'm going to get myself some extra space over here, and by collapsing all of this. So add component, and again I want a new script, and this one will be paddle right script. So paddle right script. Okay, let's see. Yeah, now you're not able to see in the video, I don't think. Maybe you could, but if not, you add the component and you go to the very bottom of the list, and there you can add a new script, and it's going to be paddle right script. And I don't see that showing up at all. Okay, let me do that again. That should, oh, there's a reason for that. If you leave the game running, which I did, then any changes you make while the game is running do not take effect. So I'm going to stop the game, and that's why it didn't give me a script, because it won't do that if the game is still running. So I'm going to add a component, try it again. It's going to be paddle right script. Let's see if that's going to let me have it. There we go. Now then I can click on create and add. There we go. And there's my paddle right script. And notice it has been added over to paddle right. And so if I click on it once, it shows me just the beginning stuff that it always gives us. and I will double click it to take it into the C# environment. And let's see if we can get to the C# environment. There it is. And again, this is now called paddle right script. So we've got all of that working. Okay. Now then, let's see. I want to make some changes to it. Okay, and this is the same thing. It's going to need a speed, and that is going to need to be used globally. So let's come up here within the class and put a float speed, and I'll take a guess. I'll start it off at 7. Now we can alter this stuff later, but it's the same thing. I may want to change this, and I may need it in several places in the code, so I just start it off up here, refer to it as a variable. I'm also going to go ahead and get rid of these two libraries that it's trying to call in. Only need Unity Engine. Okay, so we're going to need to be able to move the paddle up and down. Okay, we can do that. Just a second, I've got to pull everything onto this screen. Okay, that's not going to be a problem. And the command for this is actually fairly simple. And so we'll go do that. Let's get it moving first, then we'll come back and limit it so it has to stay on the screen. Let's see. To move this one, it's going to need a vector as well on this one. So let's give it a vector here. Right after this is going to be vector 2. And I call it direction 2, and this is the paddle's direction. And I just set it to that. Okay. Now then, on this one in start, this one's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to say direction is going to equal a new vector 2, and I want it to move 0, floating point, 0, floating point. In other words, just hold still. Until somebody hits a key, don't go anywhere. Okay? So now that we've got that, now we can start saying, okay, we want the vector to move, and we'll change this so that it's moving up and down, but we'll leave x alone. X is going to remain 0 for all of this because we do not want the paddles to move left or right. Okay, so now then, what's the command to move this? Well, it's really kind of nice. We're going to say if, well, let me, my keyboard's not ifing. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, here in the update, I'm going to type in if my input dot get key is up, and that is literally the up arrow key. So if the up arrow key gets pressed, okay, then what I want to do is to move up. And so let's go add that into this, the movement up. So we'll take and alter our direction, because right now we've got it set to 0, 0. So if I press the up key, let's do this. Let's say direction is going to be a new vector 2, moving nowhere left and right, but moving +7. Okay? Now, if that works right, my right arrow key should control the right paddle moving up. And then I want the same thing except the other way. Let's see, I think if I want to make sure I don't screw myself up with this, but let's duplicate this and change this to down. Okay, and if the input get key is down, our new direction will be don't move left or right, but move in a negative direction. Okay, so we've changed the direction. Now then, have we moved though? That's the next thing that we need to check on is what do we do to actually move this? Well, it's the same one that we use for the ball. And since this thing is giving me so many fits trying to correct me as I'm keying this stuff in, all right, I'm going to come down after this and I'm just going to paste this one, so it's going to come in pretty quick. All right, so I have changed the vector if need be, okay, and then I translate that particular direction. Okay, now think on this. Is there something that might be getting left out there? Well, there is. Okay, what happens once I start saying go down? Well, I have changed, go up. I've changed the vector, and once I change that vector, every update it's going to go through there and keep going that same direction. So all I have to do is tap the up arrow key, and that up paddle is gone, because nothing ever brings it back to dead steady. Okay, well, let's add in the dead steady command in. Okay, so I'm going to say, I started it this way, and every time through the frame, let's reset that. So every frame is going to be many times a second. It's going to come and say, okay, I'm not going anywhere. Now, if the up key is there, I'm going to go up. If the down key is there, I'm going to go down, and that's what I'm going to do. What happens if you hold them both at the same time? God knows. Whichever one you let go of first is the one that doesn't work. Okay. So anyway, let's go see if we can move that up and down now. Okay, got to save it, which I have done. Then we go back into the game. And let's play this thing. Has the game caught up with me yet? Took it that long. Okay, now it's there. All right, so I'm going to let the ball just play till it goes out of bounds. Okay, and that'll bounce around. Okay, and it hits that paddle and then bounces and comes around, and well, we're still hitting that paddle. Let's see. Well, I'm going to move it out of the way a little bit then. Well, let me move it. Oh, and it missed on the other side. So yeah, I can move, and that's moving pretty darn quick. That may be a faster movement than I want. Plus, it goes on off the screen up at the top. Well, we can just kind of copy and paste some of the ball movement code to handle the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen, because we've already done that with the ball object. Okay, so I'm remembering this time to stop it so it doesn't keep playing. Okay, I need to go back in now and see my code and add in stop at the top and stop at the bottom for this thing. Okay, so I'm going to go into the ball script and look, and in the ball script, okay, I needed a vector 2 for the screen top, a vector 2 for the screen bottom. And I'm going to copy and paste, because for some reason today Unity is really trying to help me out a lot more than it should. So I just did a Control-C and copied. I'm going to come over to my variables and do a Control-V and paste. Okay, so I've got those two in there. Let's see, I don't need that blank line, and I think a blank line right here would help a little bit. Okay, now then I need to set screen top and screen bottom. And so I'm going to go over into ball script and just copy and paste that over. Okay, so and I need both of them. I'm going to remember this time, screen top and screen bottom. Come back into paddle, and in start, let's make sure we got good values in screen top and screen bottom. Okay, now then, I only want this to happen if I'm not above the screen. If I've already gone up to the top of the screen, then I don't need to keep going. So let's go see what I did for that in ball and update. And I had, if you're at the top or the bottom, well, that's not going to quite cut it for me. So let me pick up this if though and see all the stuff I did with it. Okay, I want to just get that if to start with, and because there's going to be a lot of modifications on this, so I'm going to pull that over. And before I do move up, I'm going to say if my position is higher, yeah, but I got an extra parenthesis in there. Remember, this is the paddle. And I guess I could have kept that in there. No, because I've got this up and I've got this down. It's not automated, it's by key. Okay. All right, so if that is greater than screen top, I don't want to do this. Okay. So let's say if my paddle's location on the screen is less than my top of the screen. If that's true, then I do want to do this. Okay? And let's see, that was outside, that was within this if. So let me help myself out visually. I'm straightening up my code here. Okay, and I'll move that over one. All right. If I'm lower than the top of the screen, and if somebody's pressing the up key, then let's go up. Okay, and I need that same kind of if. And again, I couldn't do it like I did in ball because the code completely controls the direction of the ball. Here the arrow keys do. Let's see, so let me line back up. Okay, and if that's true, open parenthesis, and let me line that back up. Okay, now then, if that's true, and now I can bump this little guy back over. Okay, now I need to change this around though. I want to be going down. I want to go down only if my Y position is greater than the bottom of the screen. So I'm not trying to copy and paste too much at a time. There's a lot to change. Okay, if that's true, then if somebody's holding the down key, and again, just lining up for my benefit. Okay, all right, so if I am below the top and somebody's holding the up key, move up. If I'm above the bottom and somebody's holding the down key, move down. Okay, so am I missing a... It's got that flagged like I'm missing something there. Just a second, let me save it. Yeah, it's giving me a red mark over on the side. So, okay, oh, I need to close off that if on both of these. Nearly missed that. Okay, that's why I like to line them up, because then it becomes a little more obvious. And it should get rid, there we go. Okay, so now then, let's go save this and see if we coded that right. And this is all on the right hand, or the right paddle. Okay, so let's change back over to the game. Okay, and in the game, give it a second. There it goes, it updates. Now let's go see what happens with the right paddle. Let the ball bounce around a couple of minutes. Okay. Hey, look, it doesn't go. How about that? Okay, so that's working like it should. Perhaps a little too fast. So let's stop this. The first thing I'm going to go do is alter the speed. So let's go back to the code. Okay, and in the code, I'm going to go change my speed. Speed's going a little too fast. So let me change that down to 5. Okay, save that. All right, and that I'll test when I go back in a minute. All that does is alter how fast it moves. Now what I need to do is get a paddle left script, and it's going to be exactly the same as this, but there's a problem. I can't do both left and right paddle with this same bit of code because of the key it's looking for. So I'm going to go back into the game. I'm going to add script to the paddle left. Okay, so let's look at the game. And in the game, I'm going to select paddle left. Okay, add a component. And it needs to be a new script. And this will be paddle left script. Okay, create and add. And that does show up here. So I've got a paddle left and a paddle right. Okay, so I need paddle left script to be a duplicate of paddle right script with some changes. So what I'm going to do is select all of paddle right, copy and paste it into paddle left, and then modify paddle left. So let's go back into our code. And when I get into the code, let's see, there's a paddle right, where'd my paddle left go? Oopsie, you actually have to open it up. Okay, so I'll go back into game, and in game, I'm going to double click paddle left so it will show up. Okay, there's the default. There's paddle left. Now then, let's look at code. Okay, and when we look at code, we now notice that we have a paddle left script, a paddle right script, and a ball. I need paddle left to pretty much be what paddle right is with a few changes. So I'm going to go to paddle right. Here are some keyboard shortcuts. Control A selects all. Control C selects copy. Okay, so I have selected and copied all of paddle right. I come into paddle left, select all with Control A, delete it, and replace it all with Control V. Okay, so now then I have a duplicate of the code. The rest of these names are okay, except it also pulled over the class name as paddle right, and right now we're in paddle left. So I need to make that read paddle left script. Okay, coming on down and looking at this, everything else will be the same except, well, for the left one, let's use W for the up key and S for the down key, because that's a standard on the key for games. WASD, well, we're just using WS over there. All right, now everything else I think can remain the same because I used generics for names of everything. Okay, so let's save this. Check over on the far side for any little red marks, and there's not any, so it looks like that's all good. All right, let's go back to the game and see if both paddles work and the ball works. All right, so back into the game. All right, we're going to play it. Okay, there goes that. Okay, I've got that going. Okay, yes, both of them are playing okay. Oh, that one bounced him below, so there's a little glitch in it, but that's codable. Okay, so I'll let the ball go at this point. All right, and it's gone. Okay, so I'll stop the game, and that is how far you need to be for part 1 of Pong.